Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. I'm recording another wrestling video. This one is from Cultaholic Wrestling. 10 greatest Kayfabe families in wrestling history. So let's see how far back they go into the rabbit hole.
Family. Much like the family in that series, these 10 wrestling clans are all completely fictitious. Whilst wrestling has its fair share, and these are the 10 best kayfabe families in wrestling.
This video is linked down below.
Number 10, the Guns. Before you run riot in the comments, we know that Billy Gunn is the biological father of Austin and Colton, as much as he would like us to believe that he actually sired Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. We are not talking about the Gun Club or the Acclaimed. Instead, we are talking about the popular 90s tag team, the Smoking Guns.
Yeah.
Billy, whose real name is the ludicrous Monty Sop, joined with wrestler Bret Colt to form a team called the Long Riders. When the Riders arrived in WWE in 1993, Sop changed his name to Billy Gunn, and Colt became his kayfabe
I never liked them.
Bart.
I never liked the
Under a cowboy
the
gimmick, the Guns were a fixture of the WWE tag team scene throughout the mid-90s. They won the World Tag Team Championships 3 times and even got to defend them at WrestleMania 11.
Yeah, I remember them. I never liked them.
I
didn't like their rhythm,
and
their
had
routine.
A brief feud that was halted by
when
a
Billy
neck
Gunn
injury to Billy.
went to
After
DX,
recovering, he would join up with Road Dogg to form the New Age Outlaws, become a part of D-Generation.
The New Age Outlaws were really
rest
good,
is
and DX is
As
DX.
for Bart, well, he won the Brawl for All and got rewarded by having his head knocked into orbit by Butterbean. Number 9, Edge and Christian. The man currently known as Christian Cage made his WWE debut in 1998, antagonizing Edge from the...
Well, before he gives his origin here, my problem with this is what I hope they bring up is that Edge and Christian, or under early kayfabe, were brothers, but W wiped that out. I don't know, like in 2010 or so, where they're just friends who act like brothers or whatever. So you can't really. It's hard to call them a duck. I don't know if they should be on this list.
Crowd during a match with Owen Hart. It was revealed that Christian was Edge's brother, and the pair eventually joined forces under Gangrel as part of the Brood. When they split from the Vampire, E&C would go on a tremendous tag team run. They won the tag strap 7 times, took part in the first 2 TLC matches.
Oh, they were great. No, Edge and Christian were great. Great as a tag team and really good as singles.
Their singles runs also reeked of awesomeness, with both men becoming multiple-time world champions across various different promotions. If WWE hadn't retconned that these two were related when Christian returned to the company in 2009, then this combo would actually be much higher up on the list. So whilst they're just childhood friends these days, they were brothers during their most successful period. Wait a second, if they aren't actually related, then who is Grandma Edna? Just who was Edge on the phone to at SummerSlam 2001? The plot thickens. Number 8, the Hollies. The Holly Dynasty.
The Hollies are great. I mean,
in WWE with the arrival of Bob Holly to the company in...
So when the Hollies came around, no one... I mean, there's what they call the mid and like the jobber tier who always lose to big guys. Then there's kind of your bottom tier up-and-comers or older wrestlers who still can perform but aren't really pushed at the top end or mid-level anymore. Then there's your mid-card and your top card or whatever, right? So no one expected the Hollies to be more than like the bottom tier, with mid-card potential here or there. And they all took off. I mean, it just took off. So these guys this is a great kayfabe family.
January of 1994. Let's just gloss over the fact that he was a NASCAR driver named Thurman Sparky Plug, shall we? After becoming Bob and then later Hardcore Holly, he was joined by his kayfabe cousin Crash in
So his first name was not actually Bob Holly. It was Sparkplug Holly and Crash Holly. He did go by Sparkplug Holly in the ring.
1999. The pair feuded on and off over who was tougher, but actually did team up to beat the Rock and Sock Connection for the tag team titles. I repeat, the Hollies have a win over the Rock and Mick Foley. The Attitude Era was mental. The third piece of the puzzle arrived in the form of Molly Holly in 2000. Yet another cousin, Molly was brought in to neutralize Trish Stratus during her male relative's feud with Test and Albert. They too would eventually fall out over Molly's relationship with a member of another family on this list. Spoilers! rumors. This even led to Molly pinning Crash in an intergender match on Raw in 2001. Again, wild times, people. All three Hollies won multiple championships throughout their WWE careers and were very entertaining, either on their own or in any combination. Number 7, the Fargos. If you say Fargo to anyone these...
Before we move on, let me double check something. I'm pretty sure it's a sad note, but let me just double check it. Wrestler. Bob Holly. Now he's alive. I thought one of the Hollies died. I guess Hardcore Holly is Bob Holly. He's 60 now. Holy crap. Let's see. Sparkplug Holly. No, it's Crash Holly. Crash died. Okay, so Crash died in 2003. Sad news. Well, I mean, we knew back then, but it's just condolences, remembrances, you know.
These days, they will probably think of the Coen Brothers film or the TV series it inspired. Or
now, these
the
guys,
programming language Fargo, but that's
I know of them.
Dirty nerds, and we do not
I don't think I've ever seen them.
Here. We are a professional wrestling channel, damn it. Anyway, fans of grappling from the late 1950s will think of the fabulous Fargo Brothers when that particular
like I said, I heard of them.
uttered. Jackie and Don Fargo were a huge attraction for Vince McMahon Sr. in the early days of wrestling's return to Madison Square Garden, helping draw record audiences in bouts against the likes of Antonino Rocca and Miguel Perez. In reality, Jackie was a North Carolina native, whilst Don was born in Germany. Jackie's real name wasn't even Jackie, it was Henry. When will the lies end? The truth didn't matter much back in those days, as Kayfabe was still alive and well. What mattered was entertainment, and the Fargos sure provided that.
It's like Elvis.
The team were ahead of their time and set
Holy
the mold
eyebrows,
for
Batman.
many great tag teams and singles wrestlers that followed them. They might be pretty much forgotten about these days, but wrestling fans have a lot to thank the Fargos for. Number 6, the Koloffs. Ivan Koloff and his nephew Nikita wrestled as the Russian team in the NWA throughout the 19...
Nikita Koloff, and during the time, was one of my favorite heel wrestlers, okay? Ivan, not so much, he was okay, but Nikita was better in the ring, had a better menacing scowl. You know, when you're a little kid and you're like, oh my God, don't heel wrestler. And Nikita really knew how to heel it up, you know?
1980s. This despite the fact that Nikita was from Minnesota and Ivan was from Montreal. But hey, what would pro wrestling be without a bit of the Red Scare? Wrestling bookers weren't about to pass up on the opportunity to exploit Cold War fears for some cold hard cash, so the Russians were often the enemy in promotions up and down America. Ivan had been playing a Muscovite long before this though, most famously in WWE. He was the man who brought an end to Bruno Sammartino's record-setting World Championship reign at MSG, becoming just the third man in history to hold the gold. Alongside Nikita, Ivan held the NWA World Tag Team Championships and 6-Man Championships. The pair would defend the tag belts in one of the main events of Starrcade 1985, showing just how hot their act was at the time. Despite being as Russian as a ball deal, the Koloff...
That might be the first time I ever saw Ivan Koloff was during that little WCW run in Starrcade. Because Starrcade was one of the first pay-per-views I ever saw.
Koloffs went to extreme lengths to keep kayfabe. Nikita even took the commendable step of learning the language and even legally changed his name in 1988. Hell of a commitment, comrade. Number 5, the Grahams. Superstar Billy Graham might mostly get in the news these days for saying stupid things online, but there was a time when he was one of the biggest wrestling stars in the world. The man who ended Bruno Sammartino's second reign as WWE champion, Graham's intense promo delivery and handlebar moustache inspired many a wrestler to follow in his footsteps. We won't name names, but let's just say a certain brother owes a lot of his success to the superstar. Although his ring name was meant as a tribute,
Hogan's entire routine is Billy Graham's routine. The original Hogan routine from the 80s. Obviously, Hollywood Hulk Hogan and all that was different, but Hogan's entire original routine was basically Superstar Billy Graham 2.0. Which, in a good way, because Hogan had way better charisma.
to the famous evangelist Billy Graham, it also allowed him to slot right into the famous Graham family that was a part of championship wrestling from Florida. The Graham clan consisted of fictitious brothers Dr. Jerry Graham, a WWE Hall of Famer, Eddie Graham, a future NWA president, and Crazy Luke Graham, one half of the first ever WWE Tag Team Champs. There were a bunch of other Grahams as well, but those are the ones with Wikipedia pages.
Holy,
and
let's
that's
go
the real
back.
quiz as well, but those are the team champs.
Could you put any more possible of that fake suntan lotion stuff on people? I mean, that's what that is. These dudes literally look like they put they almost like full body blackface, but like I'm Sicilian, right? So if I spend enough time in the sun, I can actually get that dark. Okay, Sicilians we have that Moorish ancestry, so to speak. This looks like these dudes either, someone was deep browning them in like olive oil for way too long, or like they have, wow.
Amps. There were a bunch of other Grahams as well, but those are the ones with Wikipedia pages. And that's the real quiz. So, what was Billy's real name before he changed it? Eldridge Coleman. You can sort of see why he went with Graham instead. Number 4, the Valiants. Handsome Johnny, Luscious Jimmy, and Gentleman Jerry.
I remember...
No, not the nicknames.
I remember Luscious Jimmy Valiant, and I think I don't remember all of them. I don't remember them as a stable. I remember them so much as some individual stuff.
I have for my meat and two veg, but rather the names of the 3 Valiant brothers. Jimmy and Johnny first teamed together in 1974 and would go on to become the longest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions for 14 years until Demolition came along and smashed that record. Haha, smash. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Do ya? When the Valiant brothers returned to WWE in 1978, Jimmy wasn't around.
Captain
He had
Lou.
retired by this point, leading Johnny to invent a new brother called Jerry. He had a naming formula and he stuck with it. Good for him. Whilst Jerry and Johnny did win the tag belts again, they weren't nearly as successful as the previous version of the Valiant brothers. Now, we're not saying that's Jerry's fault, but okay, we don't really know what the reason could have been. It was probably Jerry's fault. Bloody Jerry. Still, the Valiants remain one of the most fondly remembered tag teams of the 1970s, and they all got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1996. Wait a second. Only Jimmy and Johnny did? They left Jerry out? Number 3, the Andersons.
Yeah.
In terms of sheer size, the Kayfabe Anderson
The
family
Anderson
has
family.
every other clan on this
This
list
is iconic.
beat and then some.
Yeah.
The genesis of the family can be traced back to Gene Anderson, a wrestler who debuted in 1958 and was the only member of the group actually called Anderson. In 1965,
Mr.
Anderson
Anderson.
wrote in wrestler Larry Hanemy to be his brother Lance.
Wow, that guy was like
the
a
two
mugshot.
formed the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, still regarded as one of the best tag teams ever. Then came Rock Rogowski, who changed his name to Ole Anderson. Martin Lund soon followed as Arn Anderson, who you might remember as that crazy old bloke who went on a rant about Glocks and AEW. The Anderson family influenced every corner of the wrestling world. In the ring, Arn and Ole formed the first iteration of the Four Horsemen. Behind the scenes, Ole served as head booker for WCW.
Yeah.
Over the years, more real and fake Andersons joined the fold. There's Arn's legit son Brock, but also there's current WWE star Carl Anderson. I mean, hell, according to Kayfabe, Ric Flair is part of the family as Arn's cousin. And don't even get me started on CW Anderson. Number 2, the Dudleys.
Yeah.
Well, here we go.
This is
Whilst
number
you
1.
may only know Bubba Ray,
I
Devon,
understand.
and maybe Spike.
Before they get into it, I understand maybe if you're not an ECW fan, this doesn't mean much, but this is the number 1 kayfabe wrestling fan of all time. I have a guess who they're putting as number 1. Don't know for sure, but this should be number 1. There's nothing. You'll see why. It is such an incredible kayfabe product. It's just.
The Dudley clan is much larger and stranger than you could ever imagine. The family's backstory is that Big Daddy Dudley used to travel around Dudleyville, impregnating many different women as he went. As a result, his sons were all born to different mothers and ended up all different shapes, sizes, and appearances. In ECW, the original 3 members of the Dudley clan were Dudley Dudley, Big Dick Dudley, and Snot Dudley. They were followed by Dances with Dudley, Chubby Dudley, and Sign Guy Dudley. Bubba Ray didn't actually turn up until late 1995 and Devon until 1996. Even if the family just consisted of Bubba, Devon and Spike, they would still go down as one of the all-time great made-up families. The Dudleys' exploits as a tag team are legendary, and each man has done enough on his own to certify themselves as legends.
Yeah.
Still, for ECW's commitment to the bit and for the sheer size and ludicrous nature of the wider brood, the entire Dudley family has earned its spot this high up the list. Number 1, the Brothers of Destruction.
Okay.
Few
I get why they're putting it
wrestlers
here.
inspired by other wrestlers have been
These are probably two of the top. I mean, Undertaker, and Kane is like on the tier right below, like where Hogan and The Rock and all are. Like the top tier, there's only 3 guys up there, maybe 4. There's Undertaker, there's Ric Flair, and there's Bruno Sammartino. Maybe you could argue that Dusty Rhodes is up there, 1, 2 other guys, but The Rock would be had he not retired so early. Anyway, but the Brothers of Destruction, I understand why they're putting number 1, but the Dudleys are number 1 on this list.
quite as successful as Kane. The Big Red Machine first turned up in WWE in 1997 to interfere in the first ever Hell in a Cell match. He was there to attack his brother, The Undertaker, who had left him scarred and disfigured after setting fire to his parents' funeral home. Or so we thought, we weren't to know at the time. Over the years, the Hellish brothers have fought many battles as friends and foes. They faced each other twice at WrestleMania, won numerous tag team championships, buried each other alive, set each other on fire, and Kane even once played with Taker's Hot Wheels without telling him. Well, I'm telling Dad, and speaking of Dad, we have to mention Paul Bearer. As Kane's kayfabe father, the Keeper of the Urn also gets a spot on this list. His time as a manager to both men was essential to their respective successes, and he deserves just as much praise as the actual wrestlers for his contributions to this whole saga. For their successes together, on their own, and for giving...
So, it's kind of funny. Undertaker and Kane in real life are total opposites. Undertaker's like a laid-back biker hunter type guy, whereas Kane wears business suits. He's a politician and businessman. In real life, they're just total opposites. Anyway, my name is Matt. This has been an Unbearable 73 Wrestling Reaction. Hope you enjoyed it and my thoughts and commentary. If you have any videos you want me to react to, whether it's wrestling or spooky stuff, and only wrestling or spooky stuff, comment down below. Have any questions about anything, drop them below. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Subscribe if you will. Survive if I let you. A little Taz in there, Thank you. I am out of here.